in that order. Thank you very much. Honourable Niehaus.
Thank you, Chair. And let me first of all thank the Minister for the presentation on parole and revocation of parole for lifers. Chair, I first want to make a statement, and this is something that I've said before. I'm of the conviction that there are certain crimes that are so serious that parole should never be granted. And I'm of the conviction that the statements that are made by the sentencing judge with regards to such crimes should be taken into consideration. Now, Chair, the Minister presented to us the basic understanding that anyone who receives a life sentence is never really released, remains under the custody or the control of the state and the Department of Correctional Services. So, someone who receives a life sentence is supposed to be for his or her life under parole and control of the correctional services system. Chair, of course, there has been some very serious precedents that did not allow this. And I think the Minister knows where I'm going. I want to talk about Janusz Walus, because the case of Janusz Walus contradicts the presentation that we received here this morning. First of all, Walus had a life sentence. Secondly, the victims, the family of Commander Chris Hani, who Walus assassinated, killed, specifically the wife of Commander Hani, Ms. Dimpu Hani, had made it very clear that she did not want Walus to receive parole. Despite the family having been on record making that crystal clear, a decision was taken by our Constitutional Court, and specifically the former Chief Justice, Mr. Justice Zondo, which indicated a reading of the law that says that Walus was entitled to parole, and that the objection of the victims, in this instance Commander Hani's family, was not the determining matter. Now, Chair, the circumstances under which Walus was released meant that he was not being placed under permanent control of the correctional services system, because within 2 years after his release, he was allowed to be deported to Poland, and Poland being an independent country, the Department of Correctional Services has absolutely no control over Walus, and if he breaks the parole conditions as any other lifer would have done and could have been returned to prison, it cannot happen. In fact, we had the unseemly sight, Chair, where Walus then proceeded to have a very high-profile media interview in which he said that if he gets the chance to do the same what he did with assassinating Commander Chris Hani, he would do so again, which indicates that there was no rehabilitation. So, Chair, we've got a serious problem. There are situations where the way in which the Minister had presented to us parole for lifers had not been adhered to. And the problem is even more serious because This decision on which Walus was put on parole, despite the objection, and I emphasize it again, of the family of the victims of Chris Hani, despite the fact that he had been put on parole, despite their objection,